AITA for refusing to date a pregnant woman and potentially a single mother? For some background, I, 27M, have been working with Richard, 31M, for a couple of years now. We get along well, but he's always been a bit of a meddler. One of those guys who think they're an expert on relationships despite being completely blind to his own flaws. Over the past few months, he's been bugging me about going on a date with his family friend, Sarah, 28F. She's perfect for you, man, he kept saying. You guys would hit it off instantly. Now, I'm not the type who loves being set up. I'd rather meet someone naturally, but after weeks of him pestering me, I finally agreed to a date. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? Turns out, the first date was actually great. Sarah was funny, intelligent, and we had a surprising amount in common. We talked about everything, movies, books, work, even some childhood stories that had us both laughing. By the end of the night, I was thinking, damn, Richard actually might have been onto something. I was excited for the second date. I don't get that feeling often, and it was refreshing to meet someone who genuinely seemed to click with me. Then the second date happened. We were sitting at this nice little cafe, just chatting. She was telling me about how she was taking up yoga, which, fun fact, I suck at, and I made a joke about how I'd probably pull a muscle trying to do half the poses. She laughed, and I was feeling pretty good about where things were going. And then, boom, she casually mentions that she's 4 months pregnant. I literally just sat there blinking. My brain short-circuited. Like what? I didn't even know how to react. Was this a test? A joke? Did I mishear her? But no, she kept talking as if she hadn't just casually dropped the biggest plot twist of the year. I must have looked like a complete idiot because she finally noticed I wasn't saying anything. She gave me this soft, understanding smile, like she expected me to need a moment. And yeah, I definitely needed a moment. Look, I have nothing against single moms or people who date while pregnant, but I had never even considered the idea of dating someone who was expecting. Not once. In my head, pregnancy was this phase of life where romance kind of took a back seat, where the baby became the absolute focus. The idea of someone actively looking for a relationship while already carrying another man's child was completely outside my expectations. I don't know if that makes me old-fashioned or just out of touch, but I was completely thrown. I tried to stay composed. I kept nodding as she talked about how it had been a tough few months, how she was adjusting, how she knew it was a lot for someone to take in. And the whole time, all I could think was, what does she expect from me here? Eventually, I had to ask. I kept my voice neutral, trying not to sound panicked. So the father? Is he in the picture? She sighed. No, he cheated on me. We were already in the process of divorcing when I found out I was pregnant. That made me feel for her, truly. That's an awful situation. No one deserves that. But it didn't change the reality. She was about to have a baby. That meant that if I continued this relationship, I wouldn't just be dating her. I'd be involved in her child's life. And I wasn't sure if that was something I could handle. I won't lie. Most of that second date was just me internally spiraling. I was still polite, still engaged in conversation, but my mind was racing. Because here's the thing. I don't want to be a stepfather. Not because I have some deep hatred for kids or single parents. It's just not the life I see for myself. If I ever have kids, I want it to be a choice I actively make. Not something I get thrown into because I happen to like someone who is already expecting. Beyond that, I know myself. If I were to get serious with someone who already has a kid, I want to be involved. And that comes with so much responsibility. What if I discipline them and they pull the classic, "You're not my real dad" card? What if their father suddenly wants back in? What if I start bonding with the child, only for things not to work out between me and their mother? It just didn't feel right. By the time we finished our meal, I knew I couldn't continue this. She asked when I'd like to see her again, and I took a deep breath before telling her the truth. I said, as kindly as I could, that I thought she was a great person, but that I wasn't in a place where I could take on the role of being a stepfather. That it wouldn't be fair to her or the baby if I continued dating her while knowing this wasn't something I was ready for. She nodded, clearly disappointed, but not surprised. I think she had been preparing for this reaction. She didn't argue or plead, just gave me a sad smile and thanked me for being honest. I walked away feeling like I'd done the right thing. It wasn't an easy conversation, but honesty is better than leading someone on, right? Well, apparently, not everyone agreed. The next day at work, Richard was furious. "You just completely crushed her, man," he said, glaring at me like I had committed some great betrayal. I was confused. What are you talking about? Turns out, Richard had left out a lot of context when setting us up. He told me Sarah was single and looking for a fresh start. What he didn't tell me was that she had been on the fence about keeping the baby and had only decided to go through with the pregnancy because her friends, including him, convinced her that there are good guys out there who would step up. And guess who he thought the first good guy should be? Me. Apparently, Sarah liked me more than any of the other guys they had tried to set her up with. So when I rejected her, it really hit her hard. Richard made it clear that he thought I was selfish. You had a real chance to make a difference in someone's life, and you just walked away. That honestly pissed me off. I never signed up for this. I didn't go into this date knowing she was pregnant. I didn't promise her a future. I barely even knew her. And yet, suddenly, people were acting like I had abandoned my own family. It got worse. My coworkers started acting differently around me, colder, more distant. I found out from Ben, another coworker, that Richard had been telling people I almost caused a pregnant woman to lose her child because of how badly I hurt her. That sent me over the edge. Ben actually told me I should take this to HR because of the way Richard was making me out to be some kind of villain. And honestly, I'm seriously considering it. I feel bad for Sarah. I do. But how is this my fault? I didn't ask for this situation. I didn't make her keep the baby. I was never told about her pregnancy beforehand. And yet, somehow, I'm the bad guy for not wanting to take on the role of stepfather. I don't think I did anything wrong, but the way people are acting is making me second-guess myself. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to date a pregnant woman and not wanting to be a stepfather.